Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. It is Friday, April 26th, and we're coming to you live, like always, from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studio and on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. And I was listening to the radio station this morning when I was getting ready, and I heard, I think it was McDermott or something, say this morning, he's like, we're also on 98, we're streaming on 987radio.com, and we're on the Live 365 app. So both of those things are happening out there. So if you guys are, if you got a radio station, if you got a computer and you want to check us out, you can go to 987radio.com, I believe, and you could be able to stream the radio station. So from anywhere. So if you need another opportunity, another way to get to us, that's just another way to get to us right there. It's kind of like Coach Dykes used to always say, 100%, he had 100% graduation rate when he was coaching at Texas Tech. He used to say that all the time. He had 100% graduation rate. 100% of the kids that wanted to graduate did. And that's kind of the way I feel about the show, really. 100% of the people that really want to listen to the show, listen to it. And 100% of the people that don't, they go figure out something else to do. So, but if you got a friend somewhere, they say, well, I can't get your show, or for whatever reason, I can't watch the YouTube channel or the Facebook channel in the middle of the day or in the evening for some, whatever reason they might have, they could get it on the Live 365 app, or they can get it on their computer. I mean, there's so many ways that they could get the show, and we're trying to give you enough information so that it makes sense to you and that it helps you. That's all. That's the deal. Just helps you be healthier. That's what we're all about. So I hope you guys had a good week. We did. I got pictures. Leslie and Caitlin are off in Florida this week, and Leslie sent me a picture from the beach and had her feet out there on that white sand on the beach, looking at the Gulf of Mexico, and had a great day out there. Those girls love the beach. I particularly am not a beach guy. I'm a mountain guy personally. Getting all that sand in your toes and then you in your shorts and all that. It's not really my thing. I do it for when I can for Leslie and the kids. But I mean, this has worked out perfectly. They're out on a bridesmaids trip. Caitlin is the co-maid of honor in this wedding, and so they don't need me at all, which is fantastic. They can go have their beach time. They're having a good time, bunch of girls together on a girls' trip, and we're getting some things done here in Lubbock. So, and we're going to do the show. I mean, what would I rather be doing? Would I really rather be on a beach somewhere in Rosemary Beach, Florida tonight, or would I rather be with you right here talking about health? Shoot, that's an easy one. Like that we don't even have to try hard for that one. So, especially after last night's show, because we just talked about the fundamentals, and I had mentioned last night that we got new people that listen to the show. They might not have heard some of the older shows that we've done, and they might not know, this might be kind of new to them. And it was taking me back yesterday. It was taking me back to those times when I started. And when I started, I was 17. So 26, 36. Yeah, I keep wanting to say 26. It's 36 years ago when I got my first adjustment. And I went through this period of the age of 17 to the age of 29 and not really understanding what chiropractic was and not really understanding what health was. And so I kind of, it was literally a 12-year transition period before I got the chiropractic concept. And what I've done, I told myself when I went to chiropractic school that I would try as hard as I could. And I lied to myself because I haven't tried as hard as I could for this whole 20 years. I've tried pretty dang hard. But I've tried to share with you information to close the gap on that 12 years. That's really what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to close the gap. And the internet has helped a ton because, well, you got to just be careful who you listen to. But there's some really smart people out there that do these these types of shows. They do these types of shows, but they do them way better than I do them. So, but really good guys. Just um, the people. I know I've mentioned this to you before, but just the people that I follow um, on Instagram is some of those guys. A new one that's kind of new is Dr. Josh Matson. He's a chiropractor. Um, and a fellow in the International Board of Functional Neurology, and he does great with kids. And I think he's in Missouri someplace, but Dr. Josh Matson, he's one of them that I listen to. Insulin resistant Justin Richards, insulin resistant one. Watch those things. He did a deal on watermelon this week, and he eats the watermelon and checks his blood sugar. And then he did one on watermelon and salad. And today there was one on mandarin oranges. So like here's some on Twix. There's corn on the cob. There's some supplements. There's a quarter pounder, keto quarter pounder. Just shows you about blood sugar, right? So I think that's a cool one these days. Of course, Dr. Mark Hyman is a great one. Dr. Andrew Huberman is a great one. I listen to Dr. Jordan Peterson a lot. Those are ones that kind of jump out at me on the list of people that I listen to. But I just think one of the things that has helped us all, has really accelerated our learning, is the internet. I think the things you could learn on YouTube, the content that's out there is really good. And then you get into books like The Brain Maker, and this one's by David Perlmutter, Perlmutter, Brain Maker. That's one that came along the way. My mom gave me this one today. Lose the weight. I guess I bought this for Dad. It's William Davis, who's the same guy that did the Wheat Belly, and so I don't know. She said I've had this book in the garage if you want it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. It'd be cool to kind of see what he says. I don't know. It's probably very similar to the Wheat Belly, but you just start getting into these type of you get exposed. I got exposed. I didn't know anything about any of this when I first started. I didn't know anything about this when I graduated from school. And I had a degree in exercise and sports science, and I got a master's degree in sports administration. I'm not an uneducated person at all. I'm not very smart, but I'm not uneducated. But it's taken some time. It's taken some repetition, and it took me to get exposed to a different lifestyle than I had grown up with. And I know what a big challenge that is. I had a guy tell me today that his wife in the last 5 years has really, when he first started having thyroid problems, and now he's got some other health problems, his wife, she really got very serious about his health. And she started demanding that he do better. And she started working on his nutrition and trying to get him better food and make sure that he was exercising and make sure he was sleeping right and doing all that stuff. And then he added the chiropractic part to his regime. And he said, man, I was taking inventory of myself. I thought that was a cool way of saying that. He said that this morning. He said, I was taking inventory of myself, and I was noticing how much better I am now than I was 5 years ago. And he's like, I don't know, 70 years old or something. 60, late 60, 70 years old. I don't remember exactly how old he is. But the point that I'm making is, man, that is awesome. And I told him, I patted him on the back when we were finished, and I told him, I said, it's too bad that's not the way we start. It's too bad that we one of my little guys didn't go to school today because he wasn't feeling too good, and he was really bummed out because one of his friends, it was his birthday, and they were supposed to have donuts this morning for breakfast, because that's what you do. To celebrate the birthday, you have the donuts, right? And I don't want to be a prude or anything. I completely understand the concept of that, but somewhere somewhere along the way, we bought into all those things, and like that was okay to do. Like it was okay to give our kids donuts on the day that somebody had a birthday. Like I see these discussions that we have sometimes about having books banned because they have pornographic type things in them, that and we don't want them in the library. Like it's it's like it's like yeah, I don't want the donuts in the classroom. Oh, equally as much. I think it's equally or more detrimental for our children. I don't know which is worse. I don't know what the studies would say. I'm not by any means um, a fan of pornography like books in the library. I don't even know what some of those books are. I didn't get to read those when I was a kid. I guess growing up, I don't know those books, but my but I can guarantee you that the sugar's jacking with them. Like it's there's no question about that. So anyway, fundamentally, it took a long time. It took a long time to move myself forward. And last night, I just wanted to share some of those things. And I talked about physical, and I talked about the subluxation. Subluxation is interference in your nervous system. Your brain and your body are trying to talk to each other. And you could do these really cool experiments. If you don't know what I'm saying right there, it's like put your hands on the table, or just put your hands on your legs. Put your hands wherever, just set them down. And then I want you to just, with your eyeballs, I just want you to tell your hand to move, just using your eyeballs. Okay, that that nothing happened for you guys on the radio. By the way, nothing just happened. I had my hands on the table. I was trying to use my eyeballs like lightning bolts going from my eyeball to my hand to tell my hand to move. Didn't work, right? How does my hand move? If I wiggle my finger, if I wiggle my finger, how am I doing that? I'm doing that through my nervous system. How do I know when to stop the wiggle when I hit the table? How come I don't just press it, just keep pressing and keep pressing and keep pressing? Like if I'm tapping on the table right here, how do I know how to do that without, how do I know how to go just a little bit off the table and then come back and tap again? How does that work, right? Because I'm feeling the table. How do I know that? Because I got receptors in my finger that's firing to my brain. What's my brain doing? It's sending messages down through my spinal cord, out the nerves, to the muscles in my hand to tell my hand to come back down, right? Our body is talking to each other. And when we have interference, if I put my hand over my mouth, and all of a sudden you try to listen to me with my hand over my mouth, is that going to make any sense? Am I going to be able to do this radio show with my hand over my mouth and try to talk with my hand over my mouth? It it muffles the sound. It decreases the communication between me and you. Well, that's what a subluxation is inside our body. It's a muffling of the energy between the brain and the body, and it only takes a dime's weight of pressure, and then that starts to interfere with the way that our body works, because our brain is not getting the information from our body, and it's not being able to send the information back to our body and keep us healthy. So that's a subluxation. Well, subluxation is caused from physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. Well, last night we talked about physical stress, and we talked about chemical stress and how the mechanisms, the actual mechanisms of how chemical stress can break down the body. And I gave you the example of soda, and I gave you the example of the stress response from the high fructose corn syrup and any sort of toxin or artificial color and sweetener or anything like that, and how that sets the brain into this chaos type mode. And so tonight I want to carry that forward and just show it. I just touched on it, and then we ran out of time last night. And so I want to carry the mental emotional stress part over and just share with you a little bit about it so that you get a better understanding of that. Now, we've gone in depth over this, but I just want to simplify. I just want to bring it back down to some really simple terms, and I'll try to be as simple as I can, but our brain is split in half. Our brain has 4 major big lobes. There's 2 on the top, there's 2 on the bottom. And so if you split the brain in half, then you've got 4 lobes on one side and 4 lobes on the other side. I mean, they're identical, the frontal lobes and the parietal lobes, and then the temporal lobes and the occipital lobes. There's 4 different types. The words don't really matter so much. It's just a description. It's just kind of like, this is your hand, this is your elbow, this is your shoulder. We just need some sort of descriptor so that we can communicate about what we're talking about. But when we have this internal dialogue that goes along with the stress response, and the stress response, there's an actual physical, there's a physical component of the stress response. Like, it's not, sometimes it seems like we talk about stress and anxiety like it's like it's like a ghost or something, like it's the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus. Like we say that, well, I'm depressed. What does that mean? What physically does that mean? What neurologically does that mean? Do we know it? Well, I just have a lot of anxiety. Okay, but if I said I had a broken arm, everyone would understand what a broken arm is, right? Like we've seen that happen since we were little kids. You know that. If I told somebody, man, I fell and I broke my arm, and they'd be like, oh dang, that's horrible. You okay? Nope, my arm's broke. Yep, it's in a cast. I'll be all right, but my arm's broke. We all understand physical stresses, and we understand how difficult. If I'm right-handed and I break my right arm, I'm gonna have some trouble functioning because I'm not gonna be able to do stuff with my arm that's broken, right? Well, what we do not really understand is and depression, ADHD, all those neurological things. To me, they're as physically real as a broken arm. It's just, how do you look at it? How do you look at the mechanisms that it takes to have anxiety? And man, I've learned a lot about it in the last 3 or 4 years, really getting my functional neurology stuff straightened out, and reading that book, The Master and His Emissary, and listening to Jordan Peterson talk about some of this in-depth psychology stuff that he teaches and that he knows. And so, but this stuff that I'm showing you tonight, we've been doing since 2009. It's not new stuff to us, but there's a pathway that goes along with being stressed out. Your brain is going to fire in a certain pattern, and it's going to set off a relay of different nerve synapses. One nerve is going to fire to another nerve. Now, let me tell you something. This is a 53-year-old me saying this statement right here. I don't care how smart these guys are. I don't care how many books they read. I don't care how many books you read. I don't care how many books are written about all this stuff. When we start talking about the brain, we need to have a little asterisk up there that says, this is what we think happens, right? It is so amazing of a system that we're not exactly sure about how everything happens in the brain. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot going on, I think, outside this physical body that has a lot to do with the way this physical body is functioning. So there's a lot going on, but we do know that there is a firing pattern that happens, especially in the right hemisphere. The just split your brain in half, and that right hemisphere is going to start your stress response, and then here we go. It's going to fire its way down through to your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands are going to release adrenaline and noradrenaline, epinephrine and norepinephrine, and some like the epinephrine in the body, norepinephrine in the brain, right? And cortisol. And there's a little article, detrimental effects of chronic HPA axis activation. It's going to activate your HPA axis, your hypothalamic, so your hypothalamus, it's a part of your brain, your pituitary gland, which is part of your brain, and your adrenal axis. This is your HPA axis. So one fires, another fires, the other fires. And the HPA axis has a lot of responsibility on how your body is adapting to its environment, how it's functioning in its environment, and all that sort of thing. So if you are constantly firing your HPA axis because you're constantly stressed, and you can be chemically stressed or physically stressed or mentally emotionally stressed. The donuts for the little kid in his classroom is a chemical stressor that fires the HPA axis. And that's what I'm talking about. The Dairy Queen thing that we talked about yesterday with Josh Abbott or whatever, right? The sugar from the blizzard, which, dude, I freaking love blizzards now. I've had 1,000 blizzards in my lifetime, but they're better as a memory. They're better as a memory. So you can look that song up. It's a great Kenny Chesney song. But detrimental effects of chronic HPA axis activation from obesity to memory deficits. When I started reading this stuff, when I first started getting exposed to this, it's like, how do you put those two things in the same sentence? Like, I don't understand what you guys are talking about. This says from obesity to memory deficits. Well, what does obesity and memory deficits have to do with one another? How come when I read this article, it tells me, this is Gladstone Institute of Neurological Diseases, University of California at San Francisco, Molecular Neurobiology, 1998, August. The abstract says, increased evidence suggests that detrimental effects of too much of that cortisol by activation of the HPA axis in several human pathologies, including obesity, Alzheimer's disease, AIDS, dementia, and depression. So when I first started hearing that, at first I didn't believe it. At first I would listen to the people in my circle say things like that, and it was so foreign to me because I was just trying to do my day. I was just trying to. At first, I was just trying to go through high school. I didn't even know what they were talking about, and then I was in college, and I was just trying to do college. Like I was playing football. Had a girlfriend. I was just trying to make it through college, and then this weirdo brother-in-law of mine that was a chiropractor was just talking about this stuff, and I just didn't understand. I was like, okay, that's cool, and then I just go on to the next thing. Hey, what's going on with the NFL draft tonight? It was like, well, we got practice tomorrow, and we just finished spring ball. 1 year I had my shoulder broken, and I had 3 pins put in it, and I was in a cast at this time of year. And so, a sling. It was I was trying to do life like I think a lot of you are trying to do life. I think a lot of you are just trying to get by. You're just trying to get your garden planted. You're just trying to get your flowers watered. You're just trying to get your job done for today. And of course, we're going to have donuts for the first graders. That's just part of what we're going to do. And tonight we're probably going to have a hamburger with a bun, because that's just what we're going to do, because that's what we've always done. Like, why would I do anything different than that? Like, what are you talking about? Why? It doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't even make any sense to do anything different. And until we lose our ability to function, until we end up with obesity, Alzheimer's, AIDS, dementia, or depression. And then when we think we have that, all of a sudden we start getting really interested in being healthier. And then when we start getting interested in being healthier, we start to try to study what makes us sick. And that's where we get into the health. When we start to really break down these things, and then when we fire off this stress response, we will end up with increasing, there's just things that happen in the body, right? And I know you guys have seen these slides before, but heart rate, stroke volume, blood pressure, all go up. All right, we're coming up on a break. You guys on the radio, just stick with us. We'll be back here in just a few seconds, and with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we'll just keep going with some of these fundamental things. All right, you guys bear with me for 1 second. I'll be right back. I know that's crazy. Just run off and leave you like that in the middle of a show. But I looked down and my batteries were just about to go dead. Yeah, so sorry about that. But that stress response is a physical response. And you're going to get, when you're thinking about things that are stressful, and I'm telling you, the world is full of it. The world is constantly full of stressful events that fire that our brain in that way. It's going to stimulate the amygdala so that the emotional anxiety memories dominate during stress. We remember to look for the alligator. Factual learning, working memory, ability to focus attention are all going to decrease. If you have a child that has attention deficit disorder, I'm telling you, it's not a chemical problem, it's a brain firing problem. That's the problem. The brain's not firing properly. Hang on a second, let me get us back. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're talking about mental emotional stress in the subluxation complex tonight, and we're walking through this idea that we're in this. What we've done is we've kicked off this pathway that goes along with being stressed out. Factual learning, working memory, and the ability to focus attention go away. The ability to focus attention, see, if we take it a little bit deeper, the ability to focus attention happens in the left hemisphere of our brain. But the fighting of the tigers, the HPA axis, the firing of the stress response is mostly happening from the right side of our brain. So part of the reason that we can't focus is because we're too busy using up all of our resources in the right side of our brain that's fighting the tigers and worrying about the stress. It's worrying about the like I had a conversation with my mom today at lunch. It's worrying about the border and the immigrants coming across the border. It's worrying about whether or not in Lubbock, whether or not we're going to have marijuana legal or not. It's worrying about the I mean, the bills we got to pay, or we're coming up on the end of the month, right? What's are we going to make it to the baseball game tonight or the little league deal? You know what I mean? It's like we all understand all the things that we get worried and stressed out about. There's a lot of things out there that we get stressed out about, and just go back a second and look at that article right there. That increased evidence suggests that detrimental effects of this cortisol by activation of the HPA axis in several human pathologies. How do you get dementia and depression and Alzheimer's? Do you get it overnight? Like, did you go to bed perfectly healthy one night and then the next night you ended up with Alzheimer's? No. It was a process that got us there. And that process was years and years and years of firing these stress patterns that causes our bodies to break down. That whole the whole sensory system, the amygdala fires the locus coeruleus, logical behavior and short-term memory go down, emotional learning and instinctive behavior go down. I had a player at Texas Tech one time said, "I'm gonna get mines." That's what he told me when he stole a six-pack of Big Red out of another guy's locker, a freshman's locker or freshman's area, and he just ran in there early to take the Coke or the Big Red away from the freshman because he could, and then he told me, "I'm gonna get mines." That's what he told me. Like, you know what that is? It's emotional, instinctive, primitive behavior. It's not intelligence. It's not maturity whatsoever, right? When our brains aren't functioning properly, we do things that are immature and unintelligent. It's physical firing patterns. It's amygdala firing to the locus coeruleus. That's a firing pattern. The amygdala is releasing through the nerves that connect through the brain, and it's such a beautiful thing. All those nerves that are connecting through the brain, but now it's just sending a signal. It's sending a chemical over from one part of the brain to the other part of the brain. As physical as you break your arm, it's firing in your brain, and it's causing you to lose to have emotional learning and instinctive behavior. And then you're going to get this flood of adrenaline, noradrenaline, your epinephrine, your norepinephrine in your brain, which causes increased sensitivity in sensory systems. You're going to have a heightened amount of sensory whenever you have this increased amount of adrenaline or noradrenaline that's flowing into your brain. And your right hemisphere has an affinity for adrenaline. So when you kicked off your stress response and you fired your amygdala, then you fired with this adrenaline into your brain, the side of your brain that is responsible for anxiety is now more apt to fire because it's got the noradrenaline that's flowing in it. Not saying your left brain doesn't fire off of noradrenaline, and I'm saying that what Dr. McGilchrist taught me in The Master and His Emissary was that you have a tendency to fire that right side first. You're more apt to fire the right side. Well, if you're more apt to fire the right side, and the right side is responsible for depressive outlook on life and anxiety, because why would you not be depressed if you were fighting tigers all day long? Like, if you got up tomorrow and fought tigers, and then you got up tomorrow and fought tigers, and then you got up the next day and you fought tigers, why wouldn't that be depressing? It would just be like, crap. What is tomorrow going to look like? you finish your day tonight and you just think, what is tomorrow going to look like? And it's like, ugh, it's really going to look, it's going to suck tomorrow, right? It's going to look, tomorrow is going to be hard again. And do you think that's like a joyful outlook on life that a person will have? No. They're what they're doing is overactivating, they're overactivating the right side of the brain. Now I'm getting too advanced. I know that. It's not the simple things I heard and the fundamentals I heard in the beginning. It's just the stacks of stuff. It's just one stacks on top of another. It's just this book stacks on that book and that book and that book. And it's just others will probably fall over if I do this, but there's another one that's stacked, and there's another one that's stacked, and there's another one that's stacked. I mean, you get the point, right? It's like that it started in the beginning with not having a single clue at all. It started in the beginning of not having a single clue at all about any of this stuff, to the point where now I feel like I'm kind of starting to get a grasp on it. And I think some of you might be where I used to be, and what I'm trying to do is help you get further down the road a little bit. Why? So your life will be better. Like, just so, like, we don't have to have donuts for the first graders in order for our life to be better. It's not that big a deal to the first grader. Matter of fact, this first grader told me, that's all right, I got to stay home and watch movies anyway. Well, and maybe he's in second grade or third grade. I don't know how. He's probably older than first grade. But he said, so you know how quickly it was, how quickly those kids moved right on to the next thing that was just as fun to them and had no detrimental effect, very little detrimental effect on their liver, their inflammatory state, their brain state, none of it whatsoever. But who is the one that's buying the donuts? Who are the ones that are buying the donuts for the kids? It's the parents. Why? Because we don't understand any of this stuff. And what are the kids going to end up with? They're going to end up with hyperactive right hemispheres, and then they're going to end up with they're going to end up with hyperactive right hemispheres, and then underactive left hemispheres, and focused attention is a left hemisphere thing. Right? I think, yeah. These are stacked conversations. These are stacked. This is my brother-in-law saying something to me, and then me saying to him, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, if that's the case, well, why is this? Well, why does that happen? Well, what do we have to have orthotics in our shoes for? Because you say that the body doesn't need any help. It doesn't need any interference. So if it doesn't need any help, why do I need to get adjusted anyway? He's like, well, because you have interference. And I'm like, well, okay, then what difference does it make? Then what if I didn't have any interference? Then you wouldn't need to be adjusted. Okay, well, how do I get rid of interference? Clean up your physical, chemical, and mental emotional stresses. Well, what does that mean? You see what I'm saying? Like the sentences of the immune system. Like, why am I not a germ theory guy? Right? Like, why am I not a vaccine guy? What is that? And then that's a great one right there, because man, you talk about getting people set off. You can get people set off in seconds. So if you want to talk about the vaccines, and it will divide and conquer the whole thing. I hear so much ignorant conversation amongst high powered people about vaccines. I really do. It's so ridiculous. It's so immature. It's so just they make an argument. They choose a side to make an argument. A lot of times they'll choose the side to make an argument, even though they don't know anything about what they're talking about. And so how did I get to be someone? Because I had vaccines when I was a kid, not near as many as they have now, but I've had a flu shot. I got a flu shot in 1999 and then got the flu after that, but that's all right. Don't matter, right? That's the last one I'll ever have in my entire life. Why would you say that? Why would you say that's the last one you ever had? Because one of the sentences that my brother-in-law used to say to me was, he would say, you remember back when we were in school and there was like 25 kids in our class and flu season came along and 15 kids got the flu and 10 kids didn't get the flu? And I mentioned that too back in September, that same sentence, right? Why is that? I'll ask you guys that same question. Why is that? If you want to text in the answer, it's 806-794-0400, or you can send me a chat on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. I don't know how to do Twitter. I don't know if I get them, but you can send it in anyway. We'll figure it out. But why did the 10 kids not get the flu? Because they weren't exposed to the flu virus? No, that's not it at all. It has nothing to do with them being exposed to the flu virus. It had something to do with their internal state was stronger than their external virus. Their internal state was stronger. How do you get your internal state stronger? Those are legit. Those are questions that I used to have. Well, okay, if I get what would being stressed out? All right, we're already messing with our sensory system. Now, stress sharpens the signal detection system at the cost of concentration. The stressed person becomes easily distracted. Sounds like ADD. It's ADD because the left hemisphere is not firing because the right hemisphere is too busy dealing with the stressor. But I wonder what also happens. The HPA axis regulates such things as your temperature, digestion, and immune system. Could it possibly be that the reason that the 10 kids didn't get the flu is because their immune systems function better than the 15 kids who got the flu? I think that's a legitimate argument. And if it's a legitimate argument, why did the 15 kids that got the flu have the flu? Maybe their immune systems weren't working because maybe they were firing their HPA axis too much. Maybe they were feeding their microbiome. Maybe they were feeding the bacteria in the gut. I just got this book. It was over at my mom and dad's. I didn't even know where it was, and I just got it, and it was earmarked into this page 30 and 31, and it just talked about. I just opened it up to see where it was. Dr. Perlmutter's book. And I'll just pick it up right here. Good bacteria in the gut. Now let's see. Each large group of gut bacteria has many different strains, and each of these strains may have different effects. The two most common groups of organisms in the gut represent more than 90% of the bacteria population in the colon. There's two different kinds. One of them is a fat-loving bacteria, for it has been shown that the bacteria in this family are equipped with more enzymes to digest complex carbohydrates, so they are much more efficient at extracting energy from food. Researchers have discovered that obese people have elevated levels of this in their gut flora compared to lean people who are dominated more by the other type of bacteria. So your gut microbiome, the bacteria that's inside your gut, has to do with the way that's why we say 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So if 80% of your immune system is in your gut and you're feeding the gut bacteria sugar, maybe your immune system doesn't work as good. Those are just questions that I had. Like research links about fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome with abnormalities in genes related to the HPA axis. Like there's all kinds of stress, anxiety, depression, increased aging, inability to concentrate, inability to sleep, high cholesterol problems, they're all there. We're not designed to be under the stress response 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. We're not supposed to be that stressed out. Look at that alligator. If I lean down, and you guys on the radio can't see it, but if I lean down to get a drink of water and I don't see that alligator and that alligator jumps at me, there's really about two things that are going to happen. Either number one, he's going to miss me and I'm going to get away from him. Or number two, he's not going to miss me and that's the last day I'm on earth because he's fixing to take me back in the water and roll with me and chomp on my head and that'd be the end of the thing, right? How long is that stress response going to take? If I lean down, if I go down to a river and I lean down to get a drink of water out of the river, and then all of a sudden an alligator jumps, or if I'm just standing by the river and all of a sudden an alligator jumps that I didn't see that in the water, how long is the total stress response going to take? It's going to take less than 90 seconds, more than likely. And it's probably way less than 90 seconds. But that's not going to... If he jumps and I back up and he misses me, whew, that was how long my stress response lasts. I'm going to get off the back of that thing. I'm going to get away from that water. And then I'm just going to be like, whew, that was a close one right there. That's how long it's going to last. It's not going to last all day long. It's not going to last all day long for 3 whole days. You guys that are real estate agents out there, you guys get stressed out every single month. You got your whole lives based on the month. Am I going to make a sale? Am I not going to make a sale? Did I get a new lead? Did I not get a new lead? Right? How come the school teachers every single year of my entire life, and my mama was a school teacher for 43 years, so I qualify to talk about school teachers. So every single year, forever, this time of year, you know what they're talking about? Oh, we're just worn out. We just got to get to summertime. We just got to get, the kids are just at the end of their ropes. We just got to get to summertime. Well, when do we get to summertime? May 22nd is the last day of school, whatever. May 29th, right? This is April 26th. So you're telling me we're going to have a stress response that's going to last for 30 more days? Yep. If you're a school teacher, when did it start? Weeks ago. We're in a stress response now with our kids and us that lasts for longer than that period of time. All of the things that go along with it are going to shrink our brain. They're going to mess up the way that our brain functions. It's going to, the right hemisphere is where we're going to get those unbalanced thoughts. We're going to start our body moving into all those directions. And then I'm not going to get into all of the thoughts. But if we constantly think unbalanced, anxious thoughts, we express stress physiology and biochemistry more quickly. If we constantly think stressful thoughts, it's way easier for us to think more stressful thoughts. If we think balanced, empowering thoughts, it's way easier to do balanced, empowering thoughts. Every single day I'm fabulous or I'm fantastic. Been that way for quite some time. Why? Because I believe that half my day sucks and half my day is awesome. And the division of half being sucky and half being awesome is the way God made the universe. And that's what my day looks like. And if you understand both sides, you're fantastic. You're fantastic when half your day sucks and half your day is awesome and you realize it. You're fantastic. That's what I believe. That's my belief system based on what I learned, right? So I say that every single day. Well, you guys know it. My dad passed away on Saturday. Last week was super hard. Last Friday's show, I cried the whole time. You want to go back and watch it? I think it's a pretty good show, but I was blabbering the whole time because I was sad last week. I was sad every night last week. So I'm still coughing. I've just set my sinuses off because I went and saw my dad every single night last week and cried when I left. Couldn't even hardly hold my throat together to say goodbye to him every night because I didn't know if I was going to see him again the next night. Okay? Went through that period of time, and he passed away on Saturday. And I had a 7-hour training on Friday and a 7-hour training on Saturday. And he passed away on Saturday morning. We spent some time together on Sunday, and then I just came back to work on Monday. I'm not stressed out about my dad dying anymore. It's the most blessing thing that could happen. It's I'm not worried about it. Why? Why? Because I have a good definition of heaven. I have a good definition of my dad. I have a good definition of the pain and suffering is over. And I got a pretty good idea that he's sitting up there with Jesus today. But I try, to a certain extent, I try to fire balanced, empowering thoughts every day as many times as I can. So now when I get to a stressful event in life, my brain has the neuroplasticity to fire those things. And I'm telling you, it's way easier to do if you're exercising. Remember last night when I was on the show, I was talking about this crick that was in my neck? Well, it was a little bit better, but it's still sore this morning. And what did I do this morning? I got up and did a killer workout this morning. It was hard. I was in there by myself because Les is in Florida. I just came up here and worked out by myself like I do every Friday morning. I learned somewhere along the way that exercise really does help my brain fire better. It really helps me do these balanced, empowering thoughts. I quit eating sugar 2 years ago. It really helps my brain with these balanced, empowering thoughts. I take my fish oil and my vitamin D and my N-acetylcysteine every single day, and my magnesium. Those things that I take, I think those things have to do with helping my brain function better. And I just scanned my brain, and it's functioning pretty good. Sometimes I've got a couple. I can't concentrate. I get these little spectacles on, and they mess with me. So this journey of fundamentals, this journey of going through over and over and over and studying and studying and studying and looking and trying to figure all this stuff out, that all of this journey, it's taken some time to learn it. And all of the things that we talk about are just the fundamentals to try to get us to be better. Just try to help us be healthier. And some of you guys I know that watch the show, y'all are rocking this deal. Like you're really doing. Like y'all are already doing fantastic. You're doing a great job. And for those of you who are new to the program, you can watch some of these shows over. You can talk to me about them. You can send me a text. I don't care what time. You can send me a text anytime, and I'll try to get back with you on the text. I'll try to cover the stuff on the show so that you get it. But you can make yourself healthier every single day. You can make yourself healthier than you are. And if you work on that, you'd be amazed at what you could really be like. Because what we're trying to be is the very best me possible. That's what I'm trying to be. And I know a lot of you are doing that same thing. So get on your feet, move your feet, control your refined carbohydrates, take your fish oil, get some sleep, say your prayers, do the thing, and just be well. That's really it. That's the thing, is to do those things that make you well. Do well things to make you well, and watch out and see what happens about how well you do. So, hey, that's the end of the show. We're going to shut it down for the night. I appreciate all you guys listening to the show. And if I can help you, let me know. Otherwise, you guys have a great weekend. We'll be back here on Monday night. Hopefully, I'll get to go to church on Sunday, and we'll take y'all to church on Monday night if I can get that done. So, you guys be good, and we'll see you later.